Hello everyone. Welcome to Confessions Jury, where people put themselves on the spot, waiting for your judgment. Sit comfortably and listen carefully, as you're about to hear today's cases. You hold the hammer and you apply the law. Let us have your verdict down in the comments section. As always, don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Let's head on to our first case. Case 1. Am I the bad person for not tipping after overhearing what my waitress said about me? I, 30F, was at a restaurant last night with my mother. She was meeting my boyfriend's mom for the first time. We're punctual people, so we got there about 30 minutes before our reservation. We got seated with no issues. It took the waitress 20 minutes to get to our table, even though the restaurant was pretty empty. Right away, I could tell that she didn't want to wait on us. She didn't greet us with a hello. She just asked what we wanted to drink. We told her, and I noticed that she didn't write our order down. It took another 15 minutes for our drinks to get to our table, and they were wrong. It's hard to mess up a ginger ale and a vodka soda, but she did. My mom pointed out that she didn't order a Pepsi, and the waitress rolled her eyes, took my mother's glass and disappeared. I excused myself to use the washroom shortly after. I had no idea where I was going, so I went to the entrance to ask one of the hostesses there. While I was walking up to the server area, I overheard my waitress talking to some other hostesses. She was pissed that she had to wait on a black table because they never tip well. My mother and I were the only black people in the restaurant. She wasn't even whispering when she said it either. I wasn't stunned, but her lack of effort started to make sense. I interrupted their conversation, and I asked where the bathroom was. I didn't let on that I had heard what they were talking about. When I got out of the bathroom, my boyfriend and his mom were already seated. My boyfriend and his mother are white. When my waitress saw the rest of our party, she did a 180. Her service was stellar. She took notes, told jokes, and our water glasses were always filled. She didn't make another mistake. Because the night went so well, I decided to treat everyone and pay the check. She gave me the machine, and I smiled at her while I keyed in 0% for a tip. She didn't notice until after the receipt had been printed out. By that time, all of us had already started to leave. She tapped me on the shoulder and asked if I had made a mistake on the bill. I told her I didn't think so, and looked at the receipt. She asked if there was a problem with her service, and I said her service was fantastic. But since I was a black woman, I don't tip well. Her face went white, and she kind of laughed nervously, and I laughed as well. I walked out after that, but my boyfriend's mom asked what had happened. I told her what I had overheard, and my boyfriend's mom said that I should have tipped her anyway because it shows character. She seemed pretty pissed at me after that. My boyfriend and my mom are both on my side, but I'm wondering if I should have just thrown in a $2 tip. What do you guys think? Lay down your ruling in the comments section, and let's move on to our next story. Case 2. Am I the bad person for waiting out my prenup before divorcing my cheating wife? My wife settled for me. I didn't know it when I married her, but I do now. She was in love with her high school boyfriend that her parents hated. She was with him all through university. Her parents finally told her that they would cut her off financially if she stayed with him. We met soon afterwards and I fell in love. She did not. Once again, this was a surprise to me. We had a prenup that her parents insisted on. I was in it for the long haul, so I had no problem with it. I basically got nothing if we divorced before we were married 10 years. After that, it was an even split as long as I was not the cause. She was banging her old boyfriend our entire marriage. I found out after we were married for 8 years. I was angry and depressed. I had spent 8 years supporting her and her career. She has a much better paying job than I do. It is high profile and she deals with our government a lot. I decided that I could handle 2 years of infidelity. I had already done 8 unknowingly. I filed for divorce on the day after our 10th anniversary. I let her parents pay for our vacation. I didn't do anything dirty, like send the evidence I had to her parents. I just had a lawyer draft claim for divorce. Included was the evidence that the prenup had lapsed and our holdings were to be split. She said that I blindsided her after our holiday away. She doesn't understand why I would do it. I said that I just don't think we are compatible anymore. I am prepared to go nuclear if I have to, but I don't want our kids. Yes, they are mine, I checked, knowing why. I am keeping the evidence I have on her boyfriend in my pocket. I can blow up his marriage and make her parents pissed at her if I absolutely must. I just prefer to end things with me in a decent financial position to take care of the kids. Am I the bad person for what I did? What do you guys think of this one? Let us know in the comments section, and let's move on to our next story. Case 3. Am I the bad person for breaking up with and kicking my girlfriend out because she went to an afterparty without me? I, 24M, and my girlfriend, 23F, and began dating in college last week and invited me to her coworker's Joe party. I had heard a lot about him in the past, and he and she really seemed to have a lot in common, especially with their taste in music. Apparently, he was an amateur musician with a fairly successful YouTube channel. Joe initially invited only, but when she asked him if I could tag along, he said it was fine. The party was on Saturday evening. It was a fun party with about 30 people, held at a restaurant Joe had rented out. Towards the end, though, I wandered into Anne's little discussion group, and I immediately got the feeling that nobody really wanted me there. Most of all, Anne. It was her, Joe, and a few other people. Thinking that I was just imagining things, I hung around and listened to Joe basically boast about himself the whole time. A little while later, I wandered off to get myself a drink and chat with a few other people. Eventually, the time to leave came around, and I went to find, and again, Joe approached me at that point and said that he was having an after party over at his house. I was going to refuse, but then he said, "Sorry man, but only," and is invited, while clapping me on the shoulder. I first told him not to touch me, and then said she's not going. He informed me that she had already accepted the invitation. I texted and immediately to ask where she was. She responded, "Sorry, on the way to Joe's place. I'll see you tomorrow, love you." I asked if she knew I wasn't invited, and she then left me on read. Texts after that were all ignored. I drove home furious. I stayed up all night, and finally, walked in the door at 5:42 a.m. I know, because I was by the window watching. I recognized the car as Joe's, and the driver as Joe. Nobody else was in the car, and waved to him cutely, and laughed at something he said, and came inside and acted surprised to see me still up. At that point, I flatly told her that we were done, and she had the rest of the day to move out, and was at first confused with me. And then I told her that she can just move in with Joe. She rolled her eyes and said nothing happened. She gave me this spiel about my insecurities and imagination. I said it didn't matter. After this back and forward arguing, and finally relented and sarcastically thanked me for wasting the best years of her life, and finally moved out yesterday, and it was pretty dramatic. She said that she loved me, and that I was throwing away everything over a party. Did I do her wrong here? I feel like I'm getting gaslight. Can't wrap my head around that story. What do you think? Who is in the wrong there? Let us know down in the comment section, and let's move on to our last case. Case 4. Am I the bad person for insulting my husband after he asked for a paternity test and suggested I cheated? I, 25F, just had my first child with my husband, 29M, of 4 years. He is white, and I am mixed race, but very white passing. I was raised by my adoptive parents, however. I have reconnected with my biological paternal family. My biological mother was white, and I look a lot like her. My biological father, whom I call my AITA, is Inuit, and we look very little alike. But we are getting closer emotionally. My son looks so much like my AITA, and I cried when I saw him for the first time. He has darker skin than my husband and I, but he has my husband's eyes and nose. After he was born, my husband was cold and distant. He wouldn't hold our son. He wouldn't show me affection. Even when my AITA came over, and I took a bunch of pictures of grandfather and grandson, my husband refused to connect with our son. He demanded a paternity test a few weeks ago. I was upset but complied. He is the father, as I knew he was. I told him that I was a prime example of not looking like my biological father, and that I felt he was an idiot for suggesting I was cheating. He shot back with, "Well, how do I know the man you bring around is actually your dad, and not your affair partner?" Yes, he insinuated I lied about my AITA being my dad, and that I was sleeping with him. I regret saying it because I had promised to leave it behind. But I said, "Well then say hello to Sarah for me." Sarah is the woman my husband had an affair with 2 years ago. He broke it off, and we reconciled, but I feel like it was rich of him to accuse me of cheating when he was the one who cheated in the first place. He called me an asshole for bringing it up, and now we're not speaking, and I've moved into the nursery. I'm considering divorce, but also thinking about my words, which were hurtful and uncalled for. Am I the bad person? You've sat down. You've listened. Now, it's time to state your ruling. What is it going to be? Let us have it down in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe for more cases like these. In life, we may run, but we can never hide from true justice. Stay safe, everyone.